All right, let's do this, guys.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. How you doing? Turn your camera on. Good evening. Good evening. Turn your camera on. Good evening. Good evening. Turn your camera on. It's been a long year, y'all. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the end of the year roundtable. I know it's a lot of us that's here tonight. If you can just unpin me for a second so I can see everybody else. Just so I can see everybody else. If you can just unpin me for a second. I'm excited to be with you all tonight. Let us know where you're coming from, of course. When in the chat, what state, what region. I hope that you all are taking care of yourself. We'll get started in a little bit, but before we get started, let us know where you are coming from in the chat. We're gonna go ahead and shout you out. We want to know where you're coming from, and then we'll get started with our end of the year roundtable. Super excited to join and be in community with you all as we are standing in unity with each other as the NAACP for what's ahead. All right, y'all, we'll go ahead and get started shortly. But again, thank you all. I know that we got a lot of representation coming hard in the chat. I see that we got Connecticut in the chat. We got Penn State. I see Region 7 is here, New England, Michigan, Kansas. I've been here some time now. I've been here about almost 6 years. It'd be 6 years in January. I've never been to Kansas. No shade. I don't know. But we can figure it out. We can figure it out. I know we got people out there. I see Wisconsin is in the building, Florida. Reverend Stacy Tarleton, South Carolina advisor. How are you? New Jersey, Wisconsin, Alabama, Philly, Alabama. Alabama, what's good? What's good? Fry catfish on my way soon. Maybe, maybe not. Dallas, Texas is here. Alabama State. It looks like we got the whole gang here. I know that more people will be joining us this evening, but for the interest of time, I want to go ahead and get started for our end of the year roundtable. This is our annual end of the year roundtable where we annually convene all of our youth and college members from across the country to really what is really right here, bolded and white, right? Reflect, reset, and refocus, especially after a year of much long organizing and mobilization and understand that every time that we go through an election, we're electing another opponent, right? We're always going to be in the fight and in the struggle. But oftentimes we realize that sometimes when we are in this fight, the odds sometimes will definitely weigh not to be in our favor. But sometimes we understand that when we have other opponents, that the fight may be a little bit easier to where we can get to where we want. But oftentimes, in knowing that what the often consensus is, I know that there's a sense around failure. There's a lot of sense around what is next. There's a lot of sense of the unknown, but what this means for youth and then and for the youth and college division is also just another sense to really reflect and look back at history, right? We've been here before. We understand that the pressure that will be brought against the Black Americans, especially Black youth, with the threats of Project 20 with the threats of Project 2025 and the next president of the United States is forthcoming. It's a lot. But the truth is the same pressure that bursts pipes creates diamonds, right? And we've been here before. Let me reflect, right? Diamonds. The last time that we were here when we had this presidential elect, we know that that was something that was birthed. That was something that was called the Women's March. Out of the Women's March, we start to see and really understand what does it mean for women to have the right to choose, to really evolve and expand on Black maternal health and reproductive freedom, but also to ensure that to where we see in different states such as Maryland, that is now listed as a ballot measure to where that is now covered. And we talk about with insurance. We've seen the march of our lives when we talked about what does it mean when we talked about gun violence and the epidemic of youth and how that transitioned to what we known as one of the largest advocates of youth to really understand and push against the status quo of how we start to advocate and really not just look at gun violence as relates to domestic terrorism, but also as relates to the school safety and the life expectancy of youth. The George Floyd March, right? And how that started to bring a sense of consciousness to America in a sense, right? To where we start to see how large corporations, how there was also a sense of policing that was starting to be put forth, but at the same time not negating the bursting pipes end of that end. Well, while there was also advocacy for women's reproductive rights, we also seen the ending of Roe versus Wade. While we're talking about March for Our Lives and ensuring that youth were here and that voices were continuing to be heard, we heard of student debt cancellation, but it wasn't necessarily available to them. When we talking about the George Floyd March and what we was really advocating for, it's really changing and policing and making sure that we can hold policing accountable. There was also the way that we still have or do not have qualified immunity. Looking at qualified immunity, think about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but the fight still continues. And I'm excited to really talk about and really help us dig and fight through to determine what are those diamonds that we're going to birth and push and pressure and set forth as far as the tone that we want to see for the next 4 or 5 years, specifically on a state and local level. But with that, I want to go ahead and get started with our call. What we're going to do first is go through our agenda. Our agenda is really going to set our tone of what we're going to do for this evening. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. All right, so we're just really going through welcome. We have some intros and some staff greetings. From there, we'll go through our strategy refresh coming from our advocacy department. From there, we'll go and really start to really reset and understand how are we going to set our Black youth agenda through our breakouts and really starting to understand what this means to shape that, asking some questions where this is really for you all to engage. So this isn't a call where we're going to be traditionally talking to you. This is going to be a call where you all get to interact and shape what this looks like. So we're working in unison of what the future looks like. From there, we're going to go to our field and look towards our wins as far as our field impact this year. And then we'll look towards the future with our next steps of what's to come. From here, we're going to go to our goals. So I know our goal here, one, is to be in community with other NAACP members across the country. It's important that we stay connected within our strong network of our membership, but also that we're building strong and meaningful connections with each other so we can be there for and support in time of need. Two is making sure that we can reflect on the past year and celebrate our collective impact. And three, most importantly, that we build our Black youth agenda for 2025 and tactics to combat Project 2025 and identify any future threats to Black youth. All right. And at this point, I'm going to introduce our national staff. My name is Derek Lewis. Of course, I serve as your interim national director, and I am excited and proud to be leading this bunch of individuals who work day in and day out to ensure that the Youth and College Division is staying afloat, but most important, that we're prepared and ready for the future. Here's our team that is listed here. We're going to quickly go through our introductions right now. As the interim national director, as far as my role, I oversee the staff, of course, but most importantly, I work cross-department with our other departments to ensure that the youth voice is always being catered to and heard. So that goes from our advocacy department, civic engagement, most importantly, our field and membership in units, to really ensure, again, that youth voices are not being left out in the conversation. But most importantly, within my role is to ensure that we are implementing national campaigns that engage youth as far as our youth members and Youth and College Division and young adults.
Hello, everyone. I'm Butler Reed, the campaign and training manager. I'm pretty excited to be joining the staff. I know I'm a new face to a few of you, but some of you just remember me from I was a student organizer as well at the Unsinkable Albany State University. had to lift that up really quickly. I'm super excited because one of my goals is, of course, to make sure that I'm providing training for you all to feel so that you all can feel like you are well equipped and to really do the work on the ground, but also making sure that we're really leaning into the issues with campus led and won by young people. So I can't wait to work with you all, and I'll pass it over to.
Thank you, Katora. Hello, everybody. My name is Marie Radigan. I am too a new face, but I'm the National Field Organizer for the Youth and College Division, everything compliance, mobilization, and field. I have the pleasure of representing Region 1, Region 2, Region 5, Alabama, Mississippi, and my beautiful state, Florida, as I am a proud graduate of the illustrious Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, and of course, Region 6. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jamil.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know they have to save the best for last. How's everybody doing? Jamel Khalees, National Field Organizer with the NACP Youth and College Division. Shaking it up. I'm not in Region 2 anymore, but I'm over Regions 3, 4, 7, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And as Marie mentioned, all things field compliance, governance, and operations, you name it, we got you. And we're excited to serve you in the new year. I'll pass it back to my colleagues.
All right, thank you. And that is the youth and college staff. Now we got two new faces. And the last time you all seen us, it was just two of us. It was just me and Jamil, just two peas in the pod, just sitting and rocking. And it was a lot of rocking we was doing. But now we have some additional team members. As we understand and we believe Black women do lead and we support Black women. So we got two brilliant Black women to come and join us to ensure that our training campaigns is right and that our field is getting stronger. If we can go to the next slide, please. All right, at this time, I have the honor to introduce one of our fierce and some of both of our fierce leaders of this organization that really do support youth, but most importantly, make sure that that keep us aligned to ensure that we are working in good standing and working in good compliance and understanding that we're working towards the mission of the Youth and College Division. But most importantly, this is somebody who really is the leader of this organization. This is the chair and the vice chair of our board. That is Chairman Leon Russell and our vice chair, Karen Boykin-Towles. At this time, I would like to introduce the chair of our board, one from the Sunshine State. Some may say Sunshine State, but let's say this great state of Florida tonight, Chairman Leon Russell.
Thank you, Derek. It is good to be with the Youth and College Division this evening. Let me wish each and every one of you a very happy holiday season. I hope that everyone is getting ready to celebrate and that you're all in the spirit of the season. It's really good to be with the Youth and College Division tonight because I think that we are at a point where the importance of the Youth and College Division, I believe, is going to be raised up in the coming years. We have got to understand that from bottom up, this organization has to do more to organize itself and to be a greater presence on the ground in all of our units and especially in our youth and college units. And I want to explain to you that, as Derek indicated, with the challenges that we face from those who have been put in power, it's necessary for us to put aside emotion and start to think from an intellectual standpoint how we lead our communities from here. And I say that from youth councils, the high school chapters, the college chapters, to all of our units. But in this instance, all of our youth and college units. You need to understand that in many ways, the challenges that we face as a nation are going to be challenges that will impact you in the greatest sense. Whether it be the issue of what kind of K through 12 system we have in education in this country, or whether we go into a privatized education system that quite frankly leaves you out. If it's public education, what will that consist of? We have to have you raise your voices, you be seen in your communities, you be a part of the decision making in your communities. College students, whether you're attending a historically Black institution, which are coming under attack funding wise across this nation, or whether you are in a PWI, all of our students across this nation are going to have to be leaders. You're going to have to stand up and stand in the gap for us. And what does that mean? What does that mean? You're going to have to be able to present your issues to school boards, city councils, county commissions, and state legislatures across this country. You're going to have to be voices for your communities, for folk who are in your schools, no matter where you are. You're going to have to represent. And so we look to the Youth and College Division in 2025 to set the pace, to develop the standard. One thing that I hope that we will do, particularly as I know many of you are concerned about what will happen on January 20th, which is Martin Luther King holiday, in addition to being the inauguration day. And what I'm going to request of the Youth and College Division is that if there is an MLK Day program in your community, that you be present. You make your presence known by participating in those programs. Ask to be a part of those programs. Ask to be voices in those programs. Demand to be voices in those programs so that you can begin to make the concerns of youth across this nation known to leadership wherever we are, wherever you are. We don't have to go to Washington to make a statement. We can make a statement in your hometown, in your state capital. We can be the voice for those who are voiceless. And at this point, you will have to be that voice. And so I challenge you, I charge you to be leaders in that sense. I look forward to working with and supporting the Youth and College Division in 2025 and beyond. We're going to make this association grow, and you are going to be the basis for that growth. And so I look forward to working with our youth board members, with the staff of the Youth and College Division, but I also want to lift up our advisors, whether you're a youth council advisor, whether you're a college advisor, whether you're a state conference advisor. Thank you for the work that you are doing. Let us know the training that we need to provide for you. Let us know the kind of support that you need going forward. It's going to be a busy 2025, but I'm here to tell you that the leadership of this association is going to work with you, and we are going to support your efforts in your communities across this country. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to welcome you. It's a pleasure to be your chairman. It's a pleasure to work with Derek and the leadership of the Youth and College Division. And it's obviously a pleasure to work with my vice chairman, Karen Boykin Towns.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Derek, I assume it's okay for me to go at this point. Good evening, Youth and College Division. There's about 180 plus of you. And so I know you have an agenda, but just a few thoughts. Reflect, reset, refocus. Now, I'm sure we all remember how we felt after the elections on November the 5th, waking up the next day, and here we are almost a month since those elections. And while, there are mixed feelings, I think the one thing is we should be proud of the work that we did. We worked hard. We really, really did. And we should not discount that work. I just would like to lift up some things that we should be proud of from that election. Though it took a while, the House Democrats have actually gained 2 seats, narrowing Republican control to the smallest margin in nearly a century. The Congressional Black Caucus will have a record 62 members in both the House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. And for the first time ever, there will be 2 Black women serving in the US Senate simultaneously, which is groundbreaking, and it's a moment that we helped to make possible. On the way out, there are like 38 days, 39 days until the end of the Biden presidency. And as he leaves, he is living up to his aviator sunglass memes, because he is shattering records by opening new doors of opportunity by appointing 40 Black women to lifetime judicial judgeships. This is a historic first. In total, his administration has elevated 62 Black judges to federal benches across the nation, reflecting a commitment to justice that truly represents the diversity of this nation. And these appointments are more than just numbers. They're a testament to the power of representation and progress, ensuring that our courts are better reflective of the people they serve. This is a moment to draw and celebrate inspiration as we continue to push for equality and fairness at every level of government. So we need to rest, but we also need to recognize that there have been some wins, and the future is ours to shape still. And we're just getting started. And I believe that we're going to thrive in 2025. And you might ask me, Karen, why do you think that? And it's because of what Kendrick Lamar says. We got loyalty, got royalty inside our DNA. Quarter peace, got war and peace inside our DNA. We got power, poison, pain, and joy inside our DNA. We got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside our DNA. Our DNA is our superpower. Together, there is no obstacle that we cannot overcome together. So thank you for your work. Enjoy the holidays, get some rest, and we're going to be back at it, okay? So peace and power. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. Wow. I'm here like, the comments are speaking, the chat is speaking for itself. The chat box, check the chat box. The chat box is speaking for itself. Thank you so much for your words of inspiration, your charge to the youth moving forward, but most importantly, your support of the Youth and College Division. Thank you all so much for joining us. And as our vice chair said, dang, that's hard to follow. Dang, you ate that. You ate it up. You ate it up. It's in our DNA, y'all. It's in our DNA. At this moment, I am now going to introduce one of our fearless leaders in this organization. She now serves as our training campaign manager. Some of y'all may know her from the great state of Georgia. Some of y'all may know her because she tore up some streets in Louisiana, but now y'all finna know her because she finna turn up all the streets across the nation. Y'all make some noise in the chat for our new campaigns and training manager, Miss Couture Butler Reed.
Thank you, D. Lewis. I appreciate the gracious introduction. So you heard it from the best. We got loyalty, got royalty inside our DNA. Now we want to do some grounding, really kind of go back to what deeply rooted in here at the NAACP. Of course, we want to talk about some of our issues, some of the work and some of the ways and tools in which we know to be effective when we are doing this work 365 days out of the year. So I would like to bring up Miss Corey T. Johnson. If you can go to the next slide, please, Jamel. So we're going to bring up Miss Corey T. Johnson, our national advocacy. Is going to give us that strategy refresh because we want to make sure, you know, when you are doing this work, we kind of know what are the best ways and practices to do it. What are the things that we're focused here nationally that you can really implement across your units. So Corey, I'm going to ask you to go over the center innovations, See Hope, and our 7-point advocacy model.
Thank you so much, Couture. Y'all please let me know. Couture, let me know if the feedback behind me, because I'm in the airport. Can you all hear me well, or is there a lot of feedback?
We can hear you. I'm pretty good.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's very hard to follow Vice Chair, Madam Vice Chair, but we do have royalty in our DNA. My name is Corey Johnson. I am the National Advocacy Director here. I'm excited to be here with you amazing young people and to honestly thank you all for all of the effort you have poured into this year. Our young people have been a driving force across the country. You all have been paving the way for progressive spaces. You all have been curating new discussions for our community partners here. You all have been pushing our organization to take ownership over spaces that have real impact for our people. As a member of our advocacy team, you all have been amazing advocates, paramount to our National Advocacy Day this year in August. Shout out to our Virginia chapters, our DC chapters, the Maryland chapters. Because of you, we were able to have conversations with federal legislators representing, you know, all of the interests of the association across the country. So I want to uplift y'all and give a virtual hand clap for that. We are very, very thankful for y'all. And we can go to the next slide. Moreover, as we move into 2025, we know that there is more work to be done, right? The future of our community and the future of our association is resting in your hands, and your advocacy has the ability to shake rooms, deconstruct inequitable tables, and build infrastructure that houses equitable policies that impact us all. And so as we prepare for 2025, I want to give us just a framework for how we're engaging spaces of impact and changing policy for the better. And we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So the way that we've broken down See Hope, we have our different centers that are focused on very specific policy issues. We have our Center for Health Equity with Dr. Chris, and that houses our health and well-being portfolio and stresses the inclusive culture of health and equitable social health systems. We have our Center for Opportunity, Race, and Justice, which focuses more particularly on mobility and a thriving Black economy. Shout out to Keisha. Our Center for Education Innovation, and making sure that we have world-class education for all of our students. That is you all. And then our Center for Environmental and Climate Justice, and that's more focused on environmental, social, and economic revolution, right? And we can go to the next slide. So now when we think about like big problems, right? When we think about those big problems, even if we're just thinking in terms of like our centers, those big problems require collective actions, not just solutions, right? And here at the association, these solutions come with planning, right? We don't categorize all work as advocacy work. While all service is necessary and important to our communities, we believe that advocacy, which is the core value of our foundation as an organization is to propose laws or regulations on behalf of people who don't necessarily know what is happening to them or why it's happening to them, right? So I'm gonna tell you all now what NAACP advocacy is. Our advocacy is advocacy that wins real victories that improve people's lives. It makes people aware of their own power, and it alters relations of power by building permanent and strong organizations, right? NAACP advocacy is about building and wielding power to ensure that institutions and entities protect and expand civil rights and racial justice, right? And so how do we get there? How do we get to NAACP advocacy, right? That's our advocacy model. And thank whoever is doing the slides is on it. So thank you. So our 7-point advocacy model represents how the NAACP takes collective action with our units and committees across the country to get the work done. Right? The NAACP leverages various levels to accelerate change and make lasting and sustainable impacts. So what is the 7-point advocacy model? I'm gonna give y'all the quick rundown because I know that we're on a tight schedule and I wanna be respectful of you all's time. Our first prong of the 7-point advocacy model is to activate community, to mobilize, right? This is a strategy and advocacy that involves engaging people and organizations to take action towards a common goal. Y'all know what that looks like, right? Organizing a voter registration campaign to increase Black voter turnout, right? These are things that we did this year already. The second prong of the 7-point advocacy model is research, right? Using data-driven research to strengthen advocacy campaigns and support policy changes, right? Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. And we don't just speak from a place of we know, but we speak from a place of we can prove. So an example of that might be researching state level voting laws and restrictions to inform a voting rights campaign. We saw that this year, right? Our third prong of our 7-point advocacy model is convening, building coalitions by bringing together diverse stakeholders to work collaboratively. We're not doing this work alone. We are in it with others, and we need to build with those that are attempting to build with us, right? The next prong of our 7-point advocacy model is training, right? Developing leadership within advocacy movements by empowering individuals to take on leadership roles, right? This could look like implementing a mentorship program where seasoned organizers coach new community leaders. This looks like being at your local college if you're a sophomore or you're a junior or a senior, and making sure you take freshmen under your wing and making sure that they understand the work of the association, right? Another prong is storytelling. That's important, right? Just to reiterate what our vice chair said, right? We have royalty, we have loyalty inside our DNA. That is not the mainstream narrative. And so we need to be constantly telling our stories to shift the public narrative and to raise awareness about issues. The last two, and I wanna say these really quickly, the last two, litigation and advocate, can go hand in hand. Litigation is using legal strategies, including litigation to challenge and dismantle oppressive systems. Y'all are seeing this right now with different states, you know, having lawsuits that are essential to challenging overarching policies and procedures that are inequitable or unfair. And then the last one is advocating, right? And that advocacy is ensuring that advocacy efforts prioritize equity and inclusion, specifically for marginalized groups. That's us. So I want to say thank you to the Youth and College team for making space for us. We're looking forward to Advocacy Day next year. Hopefully in March, we'll have a concrete date. We're looking forward to welcoming you all to DC so that we can have another session. You all really carried Advocacy Day this year, and we are so thankful for our young people. And I will pass it back to y'all.
Thank you so much, Corey. We really appreciate you joining us and giving us that deeper dive in as to how to really effectively do this work. So appreciate you for sharing. We bid you adieu. So Now, what we're shifting to is going over a couple of questions that we have for you all. We want to do a brief little survey. It's not going to take too long. We will be doing a Mentimeter. So if you can get your phones or laptops or whatever device you are using out, Eric is about to share really quickly. So a couple of things that we really want to highlight today, of course, it'll probably only take us about 10 to 15 or so minutes. So we really want to get some feedback from you all. Of course, we are getting and building our Black Youth Agenda for year, but we cannot do that without making sure that your voices are uplifted and heard. And it's really to help us for just the rest of the programming that we're doing, trends that you all want to see, the campaigns that you want to see. Of course, we know that there's so much on the line and so much that we are going to be combating for 2025, but we have to join minds and forces here and now so that we can prepare for next year to come. We do have some things that we're already cooking up. Like I said, we want to make sure that we're offering a voice and opportunity for you to really add. So here's the instructions. You can do so with drop it in the chat if that's a little bit easier for you all to use. You can go to www.menti.com or you can scan the QR code. So you scan the QR code. If you could, or when you get on the page, if you could maybe do a little like or a heart or show us that everyone's engaged, we'll give you all a little chance. Okay, y'all reeling in, it's coming in. All right, okay now, y'all. And we can get as soon as we get a little more interaction, or if y'all want to do a heart chat, you can do a heart on the Menti feature, but you can also do a heart in the chat too. All right. Okay, well, I see Tyke is in there like somewhere, in there too. All the T's, all the T's is in the Menti. Area, period. Yeah, y'all come on, come on, come on. We really want to make sure that you're, getting some input and some feedback. All right. I think it might be safe for us to go ahead and Deuce in the building house. All right, Deuce. Good to see you on the call. All right, I think we're good to go. So let me I'm liking too. All right, we in there like swimwear. Okay, y'all. If anybody's having any troubles, please drop in the chat. So first, we want to rank the C-Hope. Corey just went over the centers of innovation. So we really kind of want to see what is the biggest priority for you as students. I know some of you issues are really like education. When we're thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, when we're thinking about, I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so Cancer Alley is always gonna be something. Okay, looks like not enough of y'all are here, so we're gonna wait a minute. I'm jumping. I'm just so excited. I'm just ready to work. But a few of you have not clicked on just yet. We're at about 70, and it looked like okay. It's so that means about 100 of y'all have not even in. Tap in, tap in, tap in. Cause look, waiting on y'all. Please let us know if y'all need some help. We are here in the group chat. So Marie is available. I can maybe do a little something. Okay, Jerry is driving. All right, Jerry. So look, because you shouldn't even be typing the driving while you you should not be zooming and driving. Be safe. But thank you on. But if you do have some people that can represent for you, make sure that you are sharing your stuff with them too, if there's any way for you can do so. If anybody's having troubles, maybe if you would like to drop in that, if that's and that maybe you're having connection issues or whatever the case, then please drop in the chat some of these things, or you can direct message either myself, Marie, Derek, Yeah, Tyron said he'll write on behalf of you. That's what we call the movement, y'all. A friend, help a friend, help a freedom fighter, help a freedom fighter. All right. I think we're good to, okay. We need a little bit more to get started. It's quiet here. That's the AI. Not the AI. See the AI? The AI be like, are y'all done? Okay. No, we're just getting started. Okay. Down with the AI. Y'all have a deeper conversation about AI and what it has, the role it's played in this election and the organizing work that we are doing. All right. Okay. So I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. Like I said, if you are having problems, please in the chat. It is okay. But so message Marie if you need additional assistance. And if you because make sure that your voices are heard and everything that we do, because our biggest goal is always going to be support you all and support the work you're doing, and making sure that our work is centered around young people. So it's really critical that we get some of these responses. All righty, y'all. Okay. Okay, President Javian. Okay, save you this semester. I love that for y'all. I wish AI was around when I was okay. So back to ranking the Sea Hope. So it looks like some of y'all have already maybe put which ones. So I would just want to reiterate, like, one of the things I was gonna say was, I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's Kent Alley, and so the issues that we have with petrochemical plants, they're literally Black people. And it wasn't until I moved back to Louisiana where I really felt like, okay, this is really at the center of the work that I need to be doing. So that's an issue that, really focusing and prioritizing NAACP. Education, we know that education is on the chopping block. So is that something we really want to be leaning into? And other issue is solving issues. So let's rank those and see if those are the things that we want to go forth with. Okay. All right, so y'all submit. Y'all need a little more time. All righty. I think it's good for us to go forth. And if Derek, if you can see it on the back end. Oh, okay, y'all already get it. Oh, okay. Look, y'all on me. Okay, so for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, I'll still read out the question. Practical purposes. Select the most important Project 2025 issue that you would like to see us focus on for the year. So, of course, we have education, equity, some of those funding, climate justice. I mean, basically, everything we're doing with Hope, it's the same thing. We also have health disparities, criminal justice reform, and police accountability, youth economic empowerment, and jobs. That's really important for us, for young people. Voter engagement protection, we already know that was really extremely important, and reproductive rights as well. So it looks like education is leading that. So that's really good for me to know with some of the work or maybe some of the campaigns that we're going to be doing. Education looks like criminal reform as to be expected. I'm not really surprised. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so what issues should we be prioritizing or advocating federally, state, locally? Okay, educate. I love this because back in the day when I was with Georgia Youth in College, that was me, education. And so I'm really excited that's something that you all are really wanting to get into. It looks like economic empowerment for Black communities. Money. Let's talk about it. I think that's really the biggest thing. Police reform. Okay, gun violence. I think gun violence has always, in the past just been one of the most important ones, or one of the ones we always need to look in our community. So wow, education is leading across the board. So okay, I'm hearing loud and clear. Education, period. All right. Go to the next slide. So we're only at 78 responses. So I want to give y'all a little more time. A current federal, state, or local policy or issue that could negatively or positively impact youth in 2025. Project 2025. The Department of Education. I'm seeing school funding, EI issues in school, entrepreneurship among African American youth. Let's see. Educational reform will negatively impact Black youth in 2025. Always been a means to control how people think. The reform, like a method of preventing critical thinking. Affirmative action. Who would have ever thought? I don't know who just came off the screen. Affirmative action. That's what Cancer Alley. When students being safe and never let students violence against others. Senate Bill 17. Thank you for dropping the bills. Lack of John Lewis voting legislation. I believe the multitude of protests and free speech issues have brought a new light on an old problem. Reproductive and voting rights. Racism is main issues in Virginia. The youth not involved in voter empowerment. You were Alabama and Louisiana. We got all the problems in Alabama and Louisiana for sure. Project 2025. Okay, affordable health care. And a lot of people think that young people don't care about affordable health care, but we do. College loan debt, climate control. I'm seeing some stuff in the chat too. I attend a public HBCU, Alabama State, represent. Majority of my institution funding comes from the federal level. And since Project 25 plans to cut federal funding, there are setbacks. Wow. Okay. So it seems like, and I just wish to just give everybody a hug because it really, I can only imagine right now being a student. I graduated a little bit ago, but when I was in school, that was something I had to deal with. I'm like, how am I gonna pay for this? And I always knew depend on Pell Grant. I always knew I could depend on whatever a couple of loans, maybe with scholarships, etc. But that is definitely something that we're gonna really have to dive into. Or college affordability is definitely gonna be something that we're pushing. So I'm glad that we're all aligned with that. So what are the biggest barriers preventing Black youth from succeeding in your community? So that look like lack of funding, resources, trainings. I think the biggest thing is probably always gonna be lack of funding because it's like we need money to do this work. So us trying to figure out how we get that extra little money here and there, collaboration, those things. There's other organizations, maybe it's trainings on AI or trainings on, whatever the case is. So if you haven't already, please drop in here. But it looks like lack of education resources. That's the mental health support. I know it's small right there, but I that one loud and clear. Mental health, mental health. Yeah, because this work will do it to you if you let it. So thank you all for definitely bringing that up. Racism, poverty. So that's a good question that and that's some work that we can start kind of having a little more conversations about that. Mentorship. Thank you, Miss Maisha, for adding. I think that is extremely important for all of the work that we do. We need mentorship, and maybe we can really start connecting more people. Yes, for the mentorship. Yes, so thank you so much for adding that as well. So yeah, y'all, please, if you haven't already, add more to that conversation so we can know what is something that we're missing that we haven't been really doing yet that you want us to do or want us to lean into more. So thank you for adding those things. Another question, which marginalized community members do you feel needs to be more uplifted in our advocacy policy efforts? So this is a real question for real. Let's really get into it because a lot of times when we think about ourselves as being, remember, we are not a monolith. There's so many other parts of our Blackness that should be, celebrated, that should be highlighted, that should be fought for. Especially women, Black women. We already know. I don't have to get into it. People in the LGBT identify as LGBTQ plus, folks with disabilities, youth foster care, experiencing homelessness, people who have been formerly incarcerated, men. So it's really one of those questions you want to know, and you might not identify, but might be an ally. I know lately I've been wanting to shift into that disability space because a lot of times we do programs like this. There's nobody, y'all can call me out because I don't even have, I'm talking about disability work, but I'm just like, man, something as simple as having an interpreter, something as simple as when we do events, are making sure that our events are wheelchair accessible, are sure that we're inclusive to way more people. When we're doing policy discriminating against our friends, brothers and sisters, our who are identifying a little bit differently than what we've known in the past. Are we advocating for these people? Can't say that everybody is. I know I'm gonna do my part, but I don't have all the research. I don't have all the facts, but I can't lie. And we want to make sure that if that is what's in our communities, then we're gonna really, get to deep dive up into those conversations. Because sometimes people can't really always advocate for themselves. So really make sure that y'all are locked in. But it looks like folks who women, people are experiencing homelessness in foster care. A lot of times you would just really never know. So let's make sure that we can, provide opportunities to advocate for our people. And there might even be students who are dealing with that. Some members that you have on campus that are dealing with that, and you would never know. But it's good to know that, we're fighting for them and with them, and even not even knowing that that's what they're going through. So thank you so much for those things. We're excited to see what we can dive deeper. Okay, so we need responses on this one. What are ways that we increase engagement with youth and NAACP members? Social media, having youth host sessions, events to connect. We need to get in real life, real ride or die work, period. More adults to support, better trainings. Okay, we need to dive into what some of this is, book events and larger in-person events. Okay, I get that too. I'm very much fatigued. So I grant funding, not just priority states, but units who put in the okay, I hear you loud and clear. Cause those when somebody mentioned, I don't know if it was on this about rural areas, and a lot of times those rural areas are the ones they doing the work. They just ain't got no money to do it because they not. I'm in Louisiana. We ain't get no electricity. Okay, I don't know how we made it happen, but we did the best that we could. Well, he did give, we had some money for NAACP. That's a little bit different. Heavy on the MVP kids. All right, MVP kids. So we need to boost that up. Combined means roundtable discussion, joint planning, meaning partnerships in the work of NAACP. All right, giving them safe space. Ooh, that's one of my favorite things. Providing safe spaces for folks. Ooh, I love that. Showing up to the college NAACP meetings, being a support to lower income schools and schools in general. Social media, Okay, so y'all us to be like really in person. Y'all are sick of it. What I heard y'all say was y'all sick of the spaces. So that's good to know. Yeah, that funding was me. Aaron, you ain't the only one. That funding was everybody. You spoke for everybody on the call. You speaking for me too. We need more money. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. All right. So I think this might be our final question, actually. How can we better involve your voices in decision making? So that means listening sessions, more frequent meetings with states and regions. I know for a fact I'm going to be doing some office hours. I got to figure out how I'm going to break it up. It's a lot of y'all. So we got to figure out how we're going to break it up. But that's something that, we're definitely looking into doing listening sessions next year to really kind of offer space and opportunities for you to have these more direct conversations with us. It's just for be a little patient, please. But we're definitely going to make sure that we're providing more space. So y'all like the idea. Okay, somebody said all of the above, period. Okay, so we already, yeah, it's giving, we already know. And a lot of y'all, if you can go back real quick, because I'm looking at some of those Thank you so much, dear. I appreciate it. So more meetings, school engagement, one-on-one unit check-ins. Okay, just some more writing campaign training. Okay, I love that. Interactive opportunities. Okay, mandating region meetings. Yes. Okay, so this is great, y'all. Accountability. Ooh, that's one of my favorite words. Accountability. Members on calendars. All right, so I would say that I think, and I'm hopeful that y'all really appreciate this Mentimeter. I said in the beginning, we really wanted to make sure that we were walking through some priorities for all of our units, of our student organizers on the ground. What are some priorities for you all? What are some things that you're focusing on? What are the things that we can be paying attention to on state level advocacy, federal level advocacy, etc. But also specifically, what are some of the resources that you all need to do this work? Because we know what y'all need and already working, what's not working, what can be, lean into. So this is great information. I'm so excited that you all are participated. I really appreciate everyone who tapped in with the Mentimeter. Like I said, definitely be, highlighting some of these things. We'll definitely be diving into it deeper. But we have a lot of work to do. Okay, y'all gave us y'all marching orders. Okay, we heard y'all loud and clear with everything that you all said. So we appreciate you for participating in this. And I'm going to pass it back to our field team. I'm start off with our interim national director, Derek Lewis, but I really want to just to you all on the ground. Shout out to all the work that you've done. We really want to highlight what y'all have done on the ground. 365 all throughout the year, y'all have done some phenomenal. Let's not stay in what a lot of people have felt as if, a lot of us have felt like we were defeated, we were grieving, but we must be reminded that the work that we did was impactful, that it needs to be celebrated, it needs to be highlighted, and it needs to be repeated over and over again, because when we fight, we win. So I'm gonna pass it to D. Lou. Oh, no bar suit. Back to you, Derek.
Thank you, Couture. Hope that you all really enjoyed that exercise. This really is data that we all take and review as staff. Takes us some time to really break it down. Of course, this is what builds our Black Youth Agenda, but also starts to shape how we engage, what shapes our trainings, what shapes our programs, what shapes how we engage with the field. So appreciate you all for inputting and adding into this. But at this point, we're going to go to our field impact and reflection of this year. First, I really want to ground us in our goals. We talked about this, I think, at some point earlier this year, where our goal was to train 30,000. We want to make sure that we recruit at least 1,500 volunteers, that we engage over 100 campuses, that we have at least 9,000 between the ages of 13 and 17 that are pre-registered, at least reach 50,000 voter registrations and verifications, and have at least 100 units participate in civic holidays. So those are the goals that we set forth for the year. And now we're going to reflect and have like a real reflection to see, did we actually meet those goals? So, right, here it is. The truth is where it is, right? So train, we did not get to reach our goal of 30,000 this year, but we did reach the amount of volunteers that we wanted to represent the Youth and College Division. We had way over 100,000 units that were engaged in this upcoming election with the work from our MVP campaign, from our priority states, but just in general, as well as all around engagement to support with local organizing. We did not have our pre-registration goal, not because we didn't do it, but there was not a way to track it. Voter registration and voter verification, we fell just short. Very close to 50,000, but not just 50,000 just yet. We're still going through the data to see what is the final number. I know we're about in the 40,000, but not quite at 50. And we had over, I believe, up 140 units that participated in civic holidays. If that was National Voter Registration Day, Vote Early Day, National Voter Education Week, or Election Hero Day, over 140 units. And a lot of those were youth units participated. So thank you all, and shout out to you all for the work that you all have done to help us move the needle, but also continue to raise the voice of youth and college members across the country. At this point, I will kick it to NFO, Mr. Jamel Khalis, our national field organizer, to take us through the rest.
I appreciate you, Brother Lewis. And so I have the honor of just talking about a few of our programs, but a group that is near and dear to my heart, the Fired Up cohort. If you're a part of the Fired Up cohort and you are on the call, go ahead and shout yourself out in the chat. Let the people know who you are, where you're from, and what you did. We really, really had a grand time working with these young people. We had them in Arlington for an intensive boot camp. Intensive, y'all. When I say intensive, intensive. They was in there getting to work and getting oriented in everything that they needed to do for the election season. Here's Fired Up by the numbers. And so we had about 20 plus cohort members who registered collectively around 3,028 folks and verified over 3.5 voters as well. This cohort was seen, could have been seen doing work all around the nation. You may be familiar with some of these folks or in your state conference or may have been in your unit specifically, but we love our Fired Up cohort and the work that they were able to do this election cycle. And so shouts out to Fired Up. We appreciate you all. All right, and now if you go to a HBCU, go ahead and drop your HBCU in the chat for me. Go ahead. I know y'all do y'all thing. I'm not a part of the club, but go ahead and drop your HBCUs in the chat. This opportunity was so special. We had an opportunity to partner with our family over there at Excel Leader for the initiative, for the Vote HBCU initiative. National staff was able to support physically in about 5 locations, and you can see some of those flyers on the top of this holding page. But we were excited. They had us off the phone and in the field. If you know, you know. They had us off the phone and in the field, and so my Vote HBCU family, as I mentioned, took me around the various HBCUs, and we were doing the darn thing, guys. We had mobilizations. They was voguing, they was doing their thing, and on these different campuses, they was bringing culture and community to the ballot, and that's exactly what we wanted to be a part of. And so grateful for the opportunity to be in community with our Vote HBCU family. And so here's just a quick look at the stops. If you see your unit or if you see your state or campus on this calendar, on this tour graphic, go ahead and shout them out in the chat. Again, we started at Virginia State and ended at Fort Valley. And NAACP was all up and through this tour. And so we definitely had a grand time just making sure that we were turning out the vote, again, bringing culture and community back to the forefront and leading with the issues. But the work could not have been done without my brother, and I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself. Can we unmute?
Please hold.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Got you. How y'all doing? I'm Tavon Blair, one of the co-founders of Excel Leader. I'm a proud graduate of Dillon University. Jamel, Derek, Katura, nice to have y'all on the call and welcome me here and to y'all spaces. Let y'all know we put Jamel to work. He was traveling on that road from Virginia State to Howard to A&T. And so just really appreciative of all of the NAACP units across the different chapters, the HBCUs we went to. It was unintentional of how connected NAACP was across the Vote HBCU tour. We were able to travel to these 10 different HBCU campuses and really merge HBCU culture with civics. I wish I could have gone to every HBCU, but we focused solely on the Northeast kind of region, and traveled all over via car for 30 days. And so as you see some of the panelists that we were able to participate in on the tour stop. So we had an activation that did voter registration specifically. We had volunteers from both HBCUs and PWIs that was coming together, driving down to help and support. And it was a great partnership that worked so seamlessly. And so it's a partnership that I think that should be able to stand strong in the years to come as we continue to work with our HBCUs. And so as you see some names here, these are some of the representation both on the chapter-wise, on the college level, on the city level. And we had 10 paid fellows. Even when I was going through the applications for the paid fellows, a lot of our selected fellows were NAACP members. And so just want to applaud you all for the work that you all have done, not only this year, but years prior and years to continue on. You all are making that work possible. And so I would love for our fellows to continue working in collaboration with you all. And maybe if there are schools that we pop up at, I'm always making known that I would love to continue working with NAACP chapters on those campuses. And so Vote HBCU is here to stay and continue working in partnership with NAACPs across the country. And so follow us on social media at Vote HBCU. Vote HBCU is a program of Excel Leader. And so as a proud HBCU alumni, it's just amazing to see the work that we put on. So what I told my students today is that it was not our goal to have anyone vote for a specific way. Our goal was to mobilize the HBCU community. What we say is to be a HBCU student means to be a civically engaged student. And so keep that momentum going. Do not lose your fight. And we have a lot of work to do. So thank you all for having me here. And I enjoy working with y'all this year.
Thank you, Brother Blair. They ain't lying. They definitely had me working in the heat, y'all. I didn't know it gets so hot in the South. Lord, sweating. And shouts out, man. Thank you for reminding me, Brother Blair. Shouts out to the Virginia State Conference, brought some of their members down to NCAT for one of the stops, showing that real community. And so thank you. So I know the people love the MVP. I seen that they's talking about the kids earlier and all of that. So let's get into the MVP campaign, or the All-In Membership Voter Project campaign. And so our overview, we were very optimistic going into this and dreamt as big as we possibly could. And so we launched our membership campaign, affectionately titled the All-In MVP campaign, from August 27th to today, December 12th, in an effort to increase our total membership as well as civic participation. We wanted to recruit a new generation of leaders and activists, retain current members, and empower our youth to engage in democracy. We wanted to emphasize educating, registering, informing, and mobilizing youth through that peer-to-peer learning, and organizing and expanding our units and centering Black issues. But before I move to that, I want to, as we mentioned, centering and that peer-to-peer organizing, I definitely want to highlight and bring up two of our phenomenal leaders that were in the field, that were doing the work, that were off the phone, that were getting their hands and feet dirty, and making sure that this program, especially within their localities, had life. And so first, I'd like to bring up Ms. Naysaj. Naysaj, if you're on, I think we can help her to come off mute. Ms. Naysaj from Howard University. Not seeing.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Didn't let me unmute. My apologies. Okay, here I am. Hey, y'all. So yeah, I'm Naysaj Ware, president of the Oh, y'all want me to okay, hold on. Let me throw a hood on really quick. I'm in the, you know. Okay, hi guys, I'm Naysaj Ware. I'm a junior political science major at Howard University. I also proudly serve as the president of the Howard University chapter. Yes, you know, period, the real HU. I don't know who was saying the real HU in the chat before, but I didn't recognize that name, which means it was a Hamptonite. Bad. Anyways, yeah, so really happy, very thankful for all Jamil's help, especially this season is my first year as president. So I was very, very overwhelmed, especially with this being an election year, but I'm really, really happy for the work that we were able to do, not only with membership, but voter registration as well. So as you see here on the screen, we were able to deliver about 112 MVP mobilization kits, which definitely contributed to our membership numbers and allowed us to register and renew almost 35, or not almost, but about 3,500 new members, and as well as get over 12,000 people registered to vote and different things like that. So that was definitely helpful. Vote HBCU definitely contribute to that a lot. I know the next slide talks about the different membership milestones that we hit. And as you see here on the screen again, with 40 to 50 members, we had 64 units reach that bronze level status, 37 units reached the silver status, 29 units reached the gold status, and then 31 units reached the black status. I know that's something that we're definitely advocating here at Howard University for people to increase their membership to lifetime memberships. I tell my members all the time, like, we don't have to pay $10 every year, because they're always getting on us like, oh, like, y'all never remind us. I'm like, you don't need those reminders, just, you know, go up that membership. But we're still struggling a little bit with that, but I am very happy for the amount of members that we have been able to gain and retain. And I think ways that we've been doing that at Howard is just making them feel, sorry y'all, making them feel like there's actually something to do at NAACP. I think in the past, especially at Howard, NAACP has kind of functioned as an organization that didn't really do much. Like, we served, but it wasn't structured service, and it wasn't put together. And more than that, our chapter wasn't close and bonded. So this year I really focused on trying to bond our chapter and making sure that people knew exactly what they had to do and exactly ways that they can be involved. This year we had our very, very first membership induction ceremony. So we celebrated all the new members, which I think also really helped just people feeling like they're in an area and they're being celebrated. I know on HBCU campuses, something that's very, very emphasized is just being a part of something like exclusive, and knowing that NAACP isn't exclusive. We try to figure out how we can give members that feeling of exclusivity, like you actually earned and achieved something by joining this organization and contributing to it. So I think the membership induction ceremony definitely did that. We also have a short application. Although everybody gets in, we don't deny anybody. We think the application also adds value to the organization and making sure that people know that this is serious. And the work that we do here is a commitment. We also have service hour commitments now. We have event commitments now. So members are held accountable for the service hours that they're completing and the events that they're going to. And those are just a few ways that I think we've been able to gain and retain membership. And yeah, I'm hoping to definitely chat with other people if anybody has any other ideas on how to do that, and how you guys are doing it on your campuses. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Naysaj. And now we will pass it to Jada from Alabama State.
Thank you, Jamil. Hi, everyone. My name is Jada Whitfield. I'm an accounting sophomore major. I'm currently attending Alabama State University, Region 5. I will be highlighting tonight the MVP units of the month, starting with August. Southern University was Unit of the Month for voter registration with 119 total registrations and 179 total verifications with memberships. Was Tuskegee University with 58 new and renewed members. For September, we have the illustrious Alabama State University, which is my unit, as Unit of the Month for voter registration. And I'm going to kind of be going into our civic engagement of what we did during the campaign. Under President Tyron Moore's leadership, we employed non-traditional methods to engage our peers, ensuring every student, from athletes, rappers, artists, from residence halls to academic classrooms, understood the power of their voice and their vote. We launched voter registration initiatives that reached new heights. On Move-In Day, we partnered with housing. We placed voter registration forms in over 2,100 dorm rooms. We also hosted dynamic events from debate watch parties to tent parties, where the price of admission was not money, it was registering to vote. We even had our very own March to the Polls. The results were groundbreaking. This year, we registered over 500 new voters, tripling, yes, I said tripling, our on-campus registration from the previous year. Our president's vision, combined with the tireless work of this chapter and its 200 plus dedicated members, along with 90 civic engagement volunteers, has transformed the civic engagement at Alabama State University. These numbers reflect more than just statistics. They represent students who are now empowered to shape their futures. My fellow contributor, Neshaj, and I's chapter swept the month of September, with Howard being the unit of the month for membership with 104 new and renewed membership. And we really had to give it to our HBCUs for the month of October. October was the first time during the campaign that there was 2 different units that represented for a voter verification and registration. It came between North Carolina A&T and Southern University. This showed the work really started in the month of October. And for the membership unit of the month, the women of Spelman College. And finally, shout out to Rutgers University in New Jersey, the November unit of the month for membership, the only PWI to make the list. Thank you. Back to Jamil.
No problem. Thank you, Miss Whitfield. You know, we got to shout the PWIs out. I feel like HBCUs get a lot of love. So we love our PWIs as well. Thank you both. These young ladies are part of 2 dynamic units leading the work. The Northern Star for a lot of what we want to direct you all to envision. And so we are super proud of the work that they're doing, super proud of the work that all of you have done for this campaign, in spite of some hurdles. And so we really appreciate your buy-in and your authenticity as we worked through our issues. And so definitely want to thank you all for that.
Fight.
And I will pass it now to Miss. Hold on. Let me show my sounds. Yes, I want to pass to Miss Marie Radigan.
Thank you, Jamil, for passing it.
We win.
Hey. Hey.
That's all right. Thank you, Jamil, for passing it over to me. Now I have the distinct honor to bring up the Democracy Fellows. The Democracy Fellowship at its core was about voter protection, voter registration, and voter turnout. Across the 12 different states, 12 Tier 1 states, I had the honor of working with 9 amazing Democracy Fellows in Florida, North Carolina, Michigan, Ohio, Texas, Virginia, Arizona, and Philly. Now I'll pass it over to Nija.
Thank you, Marie. Hi, everyone. My name is Nija Whiten, representing the NAACP's Phoenix College unit. And I am the 2024 Democracy Fellow for the great state of Arizona. I have the pleasure to talk about everything that we've been doing this GOTV season. Throughout this program, there were numerous things that we did to assist with the increase in turning out the Black youth vote. And that is starting with National Voter Registration Day. Can we go to that slide? And for National Voter Registration Day, we hosted a Power Hour phone bank. This event was super important. Students from all over the country came together to phone bank for Georgia, Florida, Texas, and North Carolina, reminding individuals of the upcoming election. And we made over 1,200 calls. We also authored op-eds, both pre-election and post-election, to describe why we believe it is important to vote and why the youth play such a huge role in shaping our future, because our voice matters. Also, during this program, we were able to have a personal one-on-one connection with the White House, specifically Greg Jackson, the Gun Violence Prevention Deputy Director. Fun fact, He is the first and only African-American male to have this title. Can I get the next slide? And on the left, that is us with Greg. And the party to the polls that we hosted with a band of voters. And that was an event to bridge the gap between students just being registered to vote and truly understanding their ballot. And over 120 students were engaged. We assisted with downloading a personalized sample ballot and walked each student through the process of what their ballot would look like once they receive it and how their elected officials in their area voted on issues. In conclusion to our success, we were able to impact over 119,000 voters, and we simply just want to say thank you for all of your hard work. We will continue to be all in. Thank you for allowing me to share my journey in the impactful work of the Democracy Fellowship. I will be passing it to our amazing Texas Democracy Fellow and one of my bestest of friends, Zaria Valentine.
Thank you, Naja. She definitely brought the energy. Shout out to Democracy Fellows. Love y'all down. And shout out to Fired Up 24, where I met my girl, Naja. Yes. And so we're going to be getting into one of the programs that we did, which was the SMS volunteer program. Can we go to that slide? Click the SMS. All right. The SMS volunteer program essentially was the stronghold for recruiting volunteers to participate in the campaign and then transition to turning out low voter turnout. And I want to emphasize that this was all done by Youth in College, okay? They can't say Youth in College wasn't all in because we showed up and showed out. We texting people to pull up, and we also out in the field doing the work. And so we had, next slide. We had 112,000 people say yes to the text and ensure that they would participate in a peer-to-peer texting. And out of the 112,000 people we recruited, 91,000 specifically from the SMS program alone. We did the work, we did amazing, and we turned out the Black vote. So that was our SMS program, and we're going to kick it back to Derek Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always good to hear from our members or those who are actually leading the work in the field. So thank you to you all, from the MVP campaign to the Democracy Fellow program to the Digital Mobilized and the SMS program. When we think about youth, oftentimes it's always where youth being included at. And oftentimes it's also making sure that youth are being taken care of. So appreciate you all for the work that you did this fall. As you can see, the impact and its quantitative impact as far as in the thousands and millions. These were done by your peers, and also can be done by you. At this part of the time, I know that we are just 4 minutes before the end of the call. I really want to take this step to go through any questions that you all may have in chat, but we'll go to announcements and next steps. We'll go to the next slide, please. So first, again, thank you all for joining us tonight. We know that as we go into the holidays, as school is ending, as you all are closing out finals, as some of you all are graduating, as some of you all are still waiting to get out for your Christmas holiday or holiday break in general, that there is a lot that will go into that when it comes to rest, unplugging, do that, take your time, be with your family. But also, we also know that you all want to know as early as possible what's going on, when it's going to happen, and how can we communicate this to you as early as possible. So there's a lot of things that's going on. We're going to go through that for you all real quick. First is board elections. Elections are currently going on. We know that when it comes to youth units receiving their ballot, that some units have not received their ballot. When it comes to that, just making sure that people are aware that the unit contact, most 9 times out of 10, that will be your secretary, who will receive that email and will vote with the delegate strength on behalf of the unit. So that'll be one vote. If you're a unit that had a delegate strength of 2, that'll essentially be counted as 2 with that one vote. So just being aware of that in the deadline. But that will be shared with you all. If you have not received your ballot for the board election, make sure that you contact your field organizer reps. Jamil's going to go on vacation. Contact myself or Marie to coordinate and support you all. At this time, I'll kick it to our field team to take us through the rest of our announcements.
Thank you, Derek. AFR and compliance. So we know the AFR is a daunting thing for most folks, but we've gotten through that. We've created a process that we believe will help you all through this. And so the forms will be